A very good evening to you and welcome to the most comprehensive news coverage in the country. This is certainly KTN Prime, an exciting evening ahead with the start of the world's biggest football tournament, that is the World Cup.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Our sign language interpreter is William Silla. And this is KTN Prime on the day on which the 2014 World Cup begins. Right, well, kickoff for the first match of the 2014 World Cup is in just under 2 hours.
Now, so the joke goes, there are going to be a lot of football widows around the world as fans go out to share a magic of football and their favorite entertainment sports.
Well, unlike past World Cups, at the back of patrons' heads will be the lingering question of security.
That's right, and Victor Ogale reports on the efforts of some places to make their customers secure and the scaling up of security that could be a downer for this World Cup.
It is a rush against time for business establishments in major towns in Kenya who are keen on cashing in on the World Cup. At Clubhouse 1 in Parklands, for instance, KTN witnessed last-minute preparations ranging from branding, seating arrangements and ensuring there is ample space for customers who are expected to throng the venue. The World Cup season is here with us once again, and entertainment sports are expected to be among the biggest beneficiaries of this biggest soccer extravaganza. And as witnessed, most of them have put more emphasis on security.
We're in partnership and working with approximately, including in-house and police officers, 4 different security personnel. We are working with both plainclothes and clothed police officers.
The same was replicated in Nyeri, where entertainment venues gear up to host soccer diehards who will be taking advantage of their hospitality.
The most important thing for us is security for the guys who will be coming over at night. And we have ample security checks for them. We have secure parking.
Residents of Kibera will be regular visitors to the oldest video hall in the area, Christian San Siro, named after the stadium of Italian giants AC Milan. Omar Bashir is the manager here, and he tells us that he can hold a capacity of 800 people. Unlike other more established joint, security checks is not key here in Kibera.
Tunajuana hata kuna mechi kubwa wachezanga za Premier League, Arsenal Manchester, Arsenal Chelsea, Chelsea Manchester, Chelsea Liverpool, Liverpool Manchester. Tunajuana wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Tuna imani. Sisi tunategemeaga Mungu aliye juu bana. Unaona bana? Sisi kabla tuingie hapo ndani lazima tupige dua hata kuku wenyewe kiingia nyumbani lazima yenyewe ipige dua ndo ingie au ingiagi tu mahali kuingia.
The opening match pits Brazil and Croatia and will kick off at 11 p.m. Kenyan time. Victor Ogale, KTN Sports.
Well, a very interesting turn of events when they say World Cup widows. Do you think?
I think that is a term that many are probably familiar with. But on the Big Q tonight, we're asking you whether you actually feel safe going to entertainment venues to watch football. Of course, it's a very social activity, but with the recent events in the country, the issue of security is still very much at the forefront. So do you feel safe going out to entertainment venues to watch the World Cup, and will you in fact be doing that? We'd like to hear from you.
Well, you can get us on SMS 22155, that's the SMS line, or you can tweet me at Wilson_Mburu or at Kachungira at KTN Kenya. We'll of course sample some of your views as the bulletin continues, and we'll give you a poll result at the end of this live newscast.
Well, at between $14 and $16 billion, this is the most expensive World Cup ever. And speaking of budgets, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary defied expectations of many in his budget statement, choosing to play it safe and announcing measures that he will use to raise revenue to fund the largest budget in Kenya's history at 1.8 trillion shillings. Michael Karanja has those details.
At At about 15 minutes to 3 p.m., Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich emerged from his National Treasury office for the traditional photo opportunity. After the pomp, it was off to Parliament to give the expected tax measures that would fund this budget. But to the relief of many, Rotich played it safe on that front.
This entails implementing reforms to enhance revenue administration capacity, simplifying and modernizing tax legislation, and leveraging ICT to enhance tax compliance.
Focusing on 6 priority areas for the next fiscal year, Rotich listed priority areas in support of the 1.8 trillion shilling budget. This ranged from infrastructure to devolution, but security was right at the top of that list.
I have proposed to allocate 66.2 billion for policing services, 71.3 billion for Kenya Defence Forces, and 17.4 billion for the National Security Intelligence.
Highlighting the need to make Kenya an attractive business destination, the CS outlined various measures already in place to help reduce the cost of doing business and promote local industries.
The proposed measures are designed to facilitate the private sector to take its rightful role as the engine of our economic transformation.
Kenya's backbone industry, agriculture, will receive focus as well, with the government's planning to spend big on irrigation projects and other measures to grow the largely smallholder industry.
Transforming agriculture in order to ensure food security. Increased food supply will drive down food prices and lower the cost of living for every Kenyan.
But the elephant in the room on this day was the continued wastage in the national government as well as corruption. The CS was unequivocal on steps to be taken in the next fiscal year to deal with the menace.
We are going to rationalize our expenditures and assure efficiency and value for money. To this end, we will roll out e-procurement by making operational the procure-to-pay module of the Integrated Financial Management System, FMIS. Henceforth, all government procurement will be done electronically, and the days of inflated prices will be a thing of the past.
Michael Karanja, KTN.
One of the major sectors to be funded by the 1.8 trillion shillings budget is maternal healthcare, one of the Jubilee's key anchors. The state of this sector has been laid bare with the news that women in Makadara and Jericho health centers are using candle light in delivery rooms after the Kenya Power and Lighting Company disconnected power supply due to unpaid electricity bills. Now, as Catherine Omwando reports, it has been quite a task taking care of mothers and their newborn babies in the dark.
At Makadara Health Center, mothers tend to their bundles of joy in the darkness only hours after giving birth.
Ni vibaya sana sisi. Maana tukizalishwa na kendo.
Makadara Health Center, a public facility that provides maternal health care services, has had no electricity for the past 3 days.
Tumekuja tukapata hakuna stima, tunashalishwa na kendo. Tunaomba tu serikali tununulie hata kama ni generator. At least mama asaidike.
The camera light provides a short reprieve for some who use it to nurse their newborn. Otherwise, until the Kenya Power and Lighting Company reconnects the power supply to this dispensary, nurses must use candles for light.
Dero, kuna pesa ya health. Where did you take that money?
At Jericho Health Center, the situation is the same. Lanterns provide light where there is none. It is said that the health center owes the Kenya Power and Lighting Company 270,000 shillings, and KPLC will not reconnect power unless they are paid what they are owed. What is worrying is that health centers such as these that provide maternal health services do not have backup generators. In the 2014-2015 financial year, only 4.2% of the national budget will go to the health sector. This is to supplement monies allocated to each county to boost provision of healthcare to all Kenyans in the 47 counties. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
Very unfortunate situation there. But elsewhere, a collective sigh of relief could almost be heard when the budget reading ended without mention of a hike in taxes that would affect basic commodities. KTN's Najma Ismail reports one class of hardworking Kenyans still feel like the load of taxation is far too heavy. These are the people for whom heavy loads are a source of their daily bread.
To say that John Otieno's job is hard is to put things lightly. from sack to shoulder. On a good day, he will earn 400 shillings, carrying other people's loads in Nakuru. But work and pay isn't very regular.
Hiyo 400 uko na jamii kwa nyumba. Unataka uwalishe. Huyu mama ako kwa nyumba, hao watoto wako kwa nyumba. Wanataka saloon, wanataka mavazi, wanataka chakula. Sasa unakuta gharama iko juu sana. Hata hii pesa tunapata hapa unakuta itoshi.
Like John, many Kenyans who sweat all day long to put food on the table were anxious as the budget was read, afraid that the burdens they carry would be doubled by higher prices of basic commodities. Water vendors in Mombasa buy water at 5 shillings a jerrycan and sell it for 10 shillings. Their day's income is at least 300 shillings, about enough to get them a meal after putting aside something small towards rent.
Nguvu tunatumia na ile nguvu huwezi tumia bila chakula, mpaka waangalie upande wa chakula waone energy itakuwa namna vipi. Kama ni upande wa vyakula wapunguze, alafu tupate kidogo ya kusomesha watoto.
Their jobs are different, but their concerns are curiously similar. For Maurice Wafula, a farmer in Uasin Gishu, the ordinary Kenyan had hoped for slightly better times this year after the budget, and his sentiments are shared by a section of Nairobians.
Fertilizer imepanda bei zaidi, na tunaonelea kwamba serikali mngeweza kurudisha chini mambo ya fertilizer na matawa, tungelishukuru sana.
The green areas like food security in general, those are the things I think that they should address.
In what will stand out as Kenya's shortest budget speech in recent years, the government has hinted on working towards cutting the cost of living for Kenyans. The common people in the markets and in the farms struggle on as they wait for the changes to trickle down. Najma Ismail, KTN Prime.
Now, if you thought that fisticuffs and legislative chambers died with the last constitution, think again.
That's right. A ruling by the Isiolo County Assembly Speaker that an impeachment motion against himself could not be debated triggered an actual fist fight that is now the talk of Isiolo County.
Members of the County Assembly descended on each other with kicks and blows, scuttling debate and sending those who could not fight scampering for safety.
KTN's Carol Nderi was there.
Whether the ayes or the nays carried the day here, no one could tell. But they definitely both had it. Blows, kicks. The debate on the motion did not take off. It was to be a motion to impeach the Isiolo County Assembly Speaker Mohamed Tupi. The showdown took over after the same speaker who was to be impeached ruled that the matter was not properly before the House. This ruling incensed the majority of the MCAs who supported the bid to impeach Tupi on allegations of incompetence and arrogance. It took the intervention of armed police officers to separate the two warring factions who were determined to have their fists and kicks felt if their voices were not going to be heard. A number of MCAs later reconvened and insisted that they had succeeded in impeaching Mohamed Tupi.
And we received the required ratio of 15, which is 75% of this motion. So from today on, the person ceased to be the speaker of this assembly, and he should be locked out of this assembly.
Outside the chambers, a charged crowd unsuccessfully tried to gain entry to follow the proceedings. The crowd was kept at bay by armed security personnel who had been deployed since morning. It was an action-packed afternoon here at the Isiolo County Assembly with an attempt to impeach the Speaker. While that hasn't quite sailed through, it seems that the turbulent times are not yet behind the Isiolo County Assembly just yet. It is not yet clear what the next step will be, since each side is insisting they followed the law. Carol Nderi, KTN.
Wow, a dialogue of fists. I think there must be better ways to express ourselves.
I can't even comment on it.
That's quite a dramatic
It's hilarious.
scene. Well, let's take you back to our big Q this evening. We're asking you whether you actually feel safe going out to entertainment venues to watch the World Cup during this season.
The big game, the beautiful game, starts tonight, and the opening ceremony is actually underway right now, and you can guess on SMS 22155. Do you feel safe going out to entertainment venues to watch the World Cup? That's the question we are asking. You can tweet at Kachungira, at Wilson_Mburu. Well, of course, sample some of your views and give a poll result at the end of the live newscast.
We most certainly will. Right now, though, we take a quick break. Stay with us. Much more ahead on KTN Prime.
Now, former Judicial Service Commissioner Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi claims the former Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Gladys Boschele, is protected from criminal investigations by powerful government forces. Samogina reports on Ahmed Nasir's appearance before the Public Accounts Committee on the National Assembly today, and the assertions in a seeming pitched fight between him and Shalay.
Former Judicial Service Commissioner Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi's time before the Parliamentary Accounts Committee was spent in the trenches in the war between himself and former Chief Registrar Gladys Sholei. The first salvo, his claims that the scaling up of the judiciary's budget from the 3 billion shillings upwards opened up funnels for pilferage.
Immediately our budget was increased, it brought challenges. And I think that is the context you need to understand this space and lease allocation. I mean, the registrar on her own motion, and I'm underlining on her own motion, went into a spending spree. It's like she had a deadline when she must spend this money.
Ahmed Nasir claimed after the regime change to the Jubilee administration, the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary became powerful. As such, she would rarely attend JSC meetings but still draw allowances.
According to her, the balance of power shifted with this government when she came, and she became more assertive. I mean, she never used to see judges.
He further alleged that an inquiry by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission on Sholei's conduct during her reign as Chief Registrar has been shelved following an order by a top government official.
They are sitting on that file. And I've heard also that it is because a senior government official has told them not to take it forward. You can quote me on that.
But Sholei has dismissed the claims, saying she was not aware of any other probe against her by any organ. She says she's not surprised by Ahmed Nasir's claim, as his allegations were baseless. The city lawyer claims Sholei contracted lawyer Donald Kipkorir in all the leases to acquire additional office space. And yet, according to Ahmed Nasir, Kipkorir was not among the firms pre-qualified to offer counsel to the judiciary. Kipkorir is Sholei's lawyer.
Commissioner has been accused, or is known in town, that he is the colossus. He was the man running like a rainbow in the judiciary. And as we have been told that he has been so powerful that he can bulldoze anything.
People created a bogeyman called Ahmed Nasir, so that they blame.
Are you a bogeyman?
So that, yes, I mean, especially in Parliament, they deliberately made a plan to say that, Sholei was dismissed because of Ahmed Nasir.
On his Facebook page, Kipkorir said he hoped to be given time by the PSC to rebut Ahmed Nasir's allegations.
They always believed that those issues are not the mandate of the Judicial Service Commission. That is the mandate of the judiciary as an institution.
To me, I remarked to my colleagues that I could be very comfortable to hire her as a computer whiz kid or something like that, but not for this other. Yes.
The former registrar last week, appearing before the PSC, said that any financial irregularities in the JSC should be blamed on the JSC's Finance and Administration Committee. Samogina, KTN.
On the political scene, the now familiar refrain of national dialogue echoed through Kisumu town today as Quad leader Raila Odinga took his message to his supporters in that region. The tour of the region comes before the start of a series of rallies that are seen as either building pressure on the Jubilee government to talk or momentum for the July 7th deadline if it doesn't.
A
A rejuvenated Raila Odinga took Kisumu by storm, moving from center to center while selling the now controversial National Dialogue message. Raila reiterated that his coalition will settle for nothing less than a formal convocation before July 7th.
Hii kongamano ya kitaifa ya Kenya, the National Dialogue. Niliposema hivyo, keshowe Uhuru Kenyatta akanijibu akasema ako tayari. Kesho kutwa wakaketi chini kama Jubilee wakasema hakuna hiyo. Lakini mimi nimewaambia kongamano ni lazima. Wapende wasipende.
The demand came with a caveat. If the talks don't materialize, then mass action will prevail.
Na mimi nimewaambia ya kwamba tuelewane mapema kabla Sabasaba. Lakini kama wamekataa, Sabasaba iwaja. Sawa.
The former Prime Minister spent the better part of the morning touring parts of the city, including Kamas, Kondele, Kibuye, Nyalenda, and the ODM headquarters. The whistle-stop tour comes a day before court begins a series of rallies across the country, starting from Migori town, to pressure the Jubilee government into a formal discussion of issues affecting the country. Fred Omulo, KTN, Kisumu City.
Still on matters of dialogue, the civil society in Mombasa has given the state an ultimatum to agree to a consultative meeting to discuss Kenya's deteriorating security or face a series of mass protests. 27 NGOs have threatened to start picketing continuously from June 19th following the killing of moderate cleric Sheikh Mohammed Idris, who was shot dead on Tuesday morning. The groups are also demanding a structured withdrawal of the Kenya Defence Forces from Somalia.
We, the undersigned civil society organizations, wish to call upon the government to admit and own up that this is a crisis. This crisis is a direct result of two-front war that is waging at home and in Somalia. The burden of this two-front war is now being borne by ordinary Kenyans in the streets and in the villages. We demand that the government starts immediate, phased and structured withdrawal of KDF troops from Somalia in the best interest of Kenyans, the soldiers and also their families. We demand that the security agencies in Mombasa open their doors to the undersigned for a consultative meeting to discuss the deteriorating security situation and their inadequate response.
And so we would like to hear more from the state. What kind of intelligence do they gather? How does that intelligence drive that war? And what success are they meeting with? Because 3 years later, over 40 people have disappeared or died, and nothing conclusive is on the table for Kenyans who have the confidence that their government is working.
So let's take a look at a few reactions coming from across the country.
Budget 2014-2015 in association with ICEA Lion Group.
This budget is anchored on the manifesto, the promises we made to the people of Kenya in transforming our country. Huge investment in infrastructure, from the rail to the road to the airport to the port. That the drive of any economy is infrastructure.
The only disappointment we had from this budget is the allocation of more money when it comes to the laptops. To me, laptops, since almost 2 years down the line, we've not seen the laptops. Then why allocate more money? So in terms of fighting corruption, we're not assured, because the monies that they were allocated is not going to bring any significant value.
Hizi pesa zina serikali imetoa ya uwezo fund haisaidii wamama wote, kwa sababu kuko wamama hawana uwezo, na bila uwezo huwezi pata hiyo pesa.
When there's food insecurity, when there's joblessness, they lead to insecurity. That's why you see somebody becomes hopeless, then he can turn out to do anything in order to survive.
Budget iko smart, kwa sababu security nimepewa pesa mzuri sana. All funds, mama, hata sijaiona budget kama hii.
Inanifurahisha kusema hivyo kwa sababu sisi wananchi kawaida tunaendelea kuumia, lakini wala kwa yetu ndio wanaendelea kufaidika na hii budget.
Continue to serve you at all our branches countrywide. You can now find ICEA Lion Group at its new headquarters, ICEA Lion Center at Riverside Park along Chiroma Road. For more information on our innovative products and services, visit icealion.com.
Right, so that was the budget. Let's take a look at how your money is working for you with a look at the Money Market Report coming up next. Right. To turn into a middle-income state by the year 2030, Kenya planned to grow at a rate of 10% every year for 18 years straight. But 14 years to the deadline, and Kenya's now eyeing a 6.1% GDP growth rate, something analysts say is a mere pipe dream. Here's KTN's Adlel Changole.
From the bounce in Henry Rotich's step to the twinkle in his eye, it was clear that the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury was optimistic about the budget he was about to read and the outcome he hoped it would accomplish.
The strong economic fundamentals, together with a renewed investor confidence following peaceful elections of early 2013, bodes well for accelerated broad-based and shared economic growth and creation of more decent jobs for our youth. Forecast our economy to grow by 5.8% and 6.4% in 2014 and 2015 respectively. This translates to a growth of 6.1% for the financial year 2014-2015, up from 5.3% in the financial year 2013-2014.
This growth will be driven by an enhanced business environment that would create employment for the country's 2.5 million unemployed youth, and there are 125,000 young people that enter the formal job market every year. The stability of the macroeconomic environment and implementation of key structural reforms would also reduce the cost of doing business and encourage innovation and investment.
We project to increase our revenue collections by 15.5% to 1.18 trillion, equivalent to 25.5% of GDP.
But analysts are now raining on Rotich's parade, saying the country could not grow at 6.1% as long as agriculture and tourism, Kenya's main economic drivers, remain in the doldrums.
In my view, that growth projection is rather high and rather ambitious. We are more likely, and I think even a lot of the projections that we're seeing around, we are more likely to be around the 5% level rather than the 6.1 level.
In my view, I think that's a bit too optimistic.
Moreover, they say key infrastructural projects that would have boosted the economy, such as the 1 million acre irrigation project, the Lapset project, Konza, and the Greenfield terminal, are all still in their formative stages of implementation and therefore cannot provide the impetus needed to realize such a high growth rate. Even worse, the World Bank's 2014 Global Economic Prospects report says developing countries should brace themselves for a year of disappointing growth as weaknesses have delayed an expected pickup in economic activity in the first quarter. But Rotich remains optimistic that a turnaround in the security situation will change the country's dwindling fortunes, and he has allocated a whopping 190 billion shillings to the combined security docket in order to reverse the slump. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
Thank you very much, Bonnie, for the business news. Now, it's all about football. It's all about the World Cup. In a section of the national football team, Harambee Stars players will fly to Brazil to watch selected matches live. That is courtesy of one President Uhuru Kenyatta. All the players who recently took part in the Africa Cup of Nations preliminary match qualifier against the Comoros Islands will be at State House tomorrow afternoon, where the president will hand over tickets to the team. According to FKF spokesman John Kariuki, the players will travel to Brazil in batches so as not to affect the ongoing league and Sunday's KPL Top 8 final between the AFC Leopards and Tusker in Meru. Leopards have, however, indicted their own wish not to honor the final, claiming they prepare the match can be either the preparations for the match can either be in Machakos or Nairobi or Nakuru. It will be the first time Kenya is sponsoring the national team to watch the World Cup live. Now, South Africa did successfully defend the All-Africa Challenge Golf Tournament after beating hosts Kenya by 11 shots at the Muthaiga Golf and Country Club. Kenya finished on 453, only two shots ahead of Tanzania, who had 455 gross. South Africa added the Best Individual and Best Junior in Africa trophies to the overall title. Michael Fletcher rallied from behind to sink in 3 under par, 68 gross in the final round to be crowned champion of Africa. She also recorded the lowest round of this year's championships.
Right, time to wrap up this bulletin, but let's remind you of the big question tonight. We were asking you whether you actually feel safe going out to entertainment venues to watch the World Cup matches.
Well, we have received some feedback here. Richard Mwinga, let's take the results first. I'm jumping ahead of the gun. 55% of you don't feel safe, while only 45% feel safe.
Right, so take a look at some of your comments. This is an SMS here that says a very big yes. It's high time every Kenyan was his brother's keeper, because security starts with you and me.
Richard Mwinga here says nope, it's always fun to watch football, but this time around it's just not safe.
On a lighter note, also this is a funny one. This one says World Cup venues are actually safer than Isiolo County Assembly Hall.
I will reserve my comments for the Isiolo County Assembly for Mock the Week.
We definitely look forward to that. Well, thank you very much for watching KTN Prime this evening. Our sign language interpreter was William Silla, and I'm Nancy Kachungira.
My name is Wilson Burrow, but before we go, Jeff Koinange Live is up next.